Hello and welcome to the Now Spinning Magazine podcast with me, Phil Aston. And on this episode, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome my guest, Grammy Award winner, Alan Parsons. And one of the things I would like to talk to you about, Alan, welcome first of all, before I get carried away, is this super deluxe edition of Pyramid, which I've reviewed on my website and YouTube channel. And I know you've done super deluxe editions before of your other great classic albums, but is this the first time you've had one put in a box of this stature, like literally this format?
No, we actually did release a box set for Tales of Mystery and Imagination, the first album. And Ammonia Avenue is also out there in a box set.
In this kind of LP size format.
No, the Ammonia Avenue was just CDs and DVDs.
CDs, because this one is.
We've got vinyl included in.
Yes.
This package. I don't think the Tales of Mystery, as I remember, that did not include vinyl.
Yes,
it was full 12-inch.
Full, so yeah, it's because this one it's got everything in it. And
it takes a lot to absorb everything in it, doesn't it? The book,
exactly. I mean, did Cooking Vinyl come to you and say, we've got this great idea? Was it something you'd wanted to do, was focus on Pyramid and create this kind of package for people?
I think the order of releases has been up to record labels generally. I'm rather hoping that iRobot might be the next one.
Oh.
I'm sort of anticipating that I'm going to have to start looking through tapes for that.
Yeah,
at some point, quite soon.
What I'd like to say, and this is an honest view of what I felt when I listened to this. Sometimes, and many people will probably identify this, when you get a box set and you look at the track listing on the back and you see multiple copies of this versions of the same track, you start to think, well, that might be something I might listen to once just to get a feel for it. Or because if it's like a blues artist, you might think, well, they won't play the same thing more than the same again. What I found with this was, because of the way it's been put together, and especially the book, and especially Sally Wolfson's involvement and how she describes almost like a treasure hunt of finding the little cassette tapes and finding herself and her sister talking in the background while Eric was working out what the song may be or may not be. It kind of gave me as a listener, a much more emotional connection to the story. So when I listened to the finished album again, which I know quite well because I've lived with it for a long time, it took on a whole different meaning than if it was just like, oh, these are just bonus tracks or outtakes. I felt that the storytelling really combined the package in a way that I feel was really special.
Oh, good. Well, I'm very pleased that you're pleased. I've actually just noticed you've got Iron Sky in the background there, and we did do a box set for that as well, and that actually won the Grammy.
Yes.
Won my first Grammy.
Which is absolutely that again. That's one of my favorites as well. I mean, when you were, did you hear
it on surround or in Dolby Atmos or
I haven't heard that. No, I've heard this one in surround, yes, but I haven't heard either Sky in Dolby Atmos. No, I haven't.
Well, it doesn't exist in Atmos. It's only
in 5.1.
It does exist in 5.1. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yes, I'd love to hear that. When you listen to all these tapes that come along, and when you're kind of researching this, does it bring back memories for you as well, or
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a like real journey down memory lane too. When you dig out the tapes, you hear things that were not included on the final albums. You hear the messing around that happened before the count-in comes to the song, and what happened when there was a fade out, and then you hear sort of jokey stuff happening on songs that got faded. But it was
the way you both work together. I'm going back. If I go back to where I was I was about 9. I was a teenager when this came out. I was 19. And I'd grown up with like T-Rex and Slade, and then I moved into all the rock bands like Yes and Genesis. And obviously I bought Dark Side of the Moon, so Your Name was well known. And then the Alan Parsons Project came into our consciousness through iRobot and Tales of Mystery Imagination. But what was being that age, it was all about when's the band playing live? When are they on tour? Alan Parsons Project at that point, yourself, you didn't play live at all, but you still obviously sold 55 odd million albums. But going back then, there must have been the pressure.
I don't know where that figure gets plucked from.
Well, for me, I picked it out of the book. But there must have been great pressure then from the record labels to say, we need to get you out on tour. Was it just something you just weren't going to do? Was it Eric or yourself, or?
I think Eric probably, was filled with horror at the thought of being on a bus touring around the world.
Not the audience, the bus.
Yeah, that's right. And the question that we asked ourselves is, what does Alan Parsons, the music producer, do in a live show? And the answer is, I had to play something. So in the first gigs we ever did, without the project identity, I played rhythm guitar, I played the acoustic guitar. But no, Eric and I pretty much decided at the time that we were a recording outfit, not a live act. And you're right. If we had done it back then, we could have arguably become a stadium act. Much bigger than we were.
Because that's how it kind of worked back then, wasn't it? Because this is pre-MTV. There's only the Ogre Whistle Test. There's no YouTube. It's all word of mouth, and it's concerts that used to drive the sales of the albums. But so that was a very unique move, and I think that's what I'm thinking back to myself, how I came to Alan Parsons Project later on, and a lot of my friends did the same. And it's almost, I suppose, one of the questions is that when I listen back to it now, it's almost as if, in some ways, the audience wasn't quite old enough for the music that was being produced by some artists. I feel that this music and yourself is more relevant now than it probably was then, because it was almost as if for the audience then, which is a lot younger, it was kind of above us. It's like Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It was too complicated. Not that this is overcomplicated music, but there's more to it than a 3-minute pop song. There's a lot more going on.
It's funny how we were branded as progressive rock, along with the other prog rock guys like Yes and Peter Gabriel and Jethro Tull and
because it's not,
maybe Rush even, I don't know. Yeah. But we were interestingly deviating from the norm, I think. But we didn't absolutely fill our songs with stabs that would take any band an entire day to learn every little nuance in the arrangement. But we had a couple of songs that were interesting. I mean, for instance, "Can't Take It With You" on Pyramid has a number of 7/4 bars, which are fairly unusual.
Yeah. It also has that absolutely beautiful song called "Shadow of a Lonely Man."
That's great, and John Miles did a fantastic job on that, and he appeared lots of times through the project years, and we were always great friends, and I'm still to this day envious of the talent that he gave the world. Really, it was amazing.
You have a knack of working with some wonderful vocalists over the years, and you're still doing it very much now. With Jason Mraz is someone you've worked with,
Actually, I was just talking to him a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
trying to get him to agree to do a private show in Croatia, but he was unable to do it. So,
you never.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's been a trademark, really, of everything I've done with the Alan Parsons project, and as Alan Parsons. You don't have any two consecutive tracks with the same singer on. That was the sort of formula that we stuck to.
Yeah, and I would that have meant that because you were a studio-based project, that gave you more freedom to have different players and musicians on each project, didn't it? Because you hadn't got to worry about who's in the band, so to speak, apart from you and Eric.
Right. I mean, the rhythm section tended to be the same people. I mean, Ian Benson played on every one of the project albums, and 2 or 3 of the Parsons albums. Stuart Elliott, the drummer, he played on everything from Pyramid onwards. David Payton played bass on pretty much everything. But I'm sure you knew that they were. David and Ian were two of the founding members of Pilot.
Yes, yeah, love that band, and I know that was an album you produced, wasn't it?
Yeah. Interestingly, I probably doesn't happen in the UK, but there's a diabetes drug called Ozempic, and they use Magic as the jingle.
Wow!
And it goes ho 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 Ozempic, not Magic,
No.
So David Payton is making a lot of money on that.
Yes, I imagine he is. What inspired you then to, obviously in the second part of your kind of career, if you like, decide to turn the Alan Parsons experience into a live experience, so to speak? Because I just wondered about what you obviously were studio based for all that time, all those albums, and now, of course, you're about to go on a tour. How do you feel looking back? Do you feel like you could have done this earlier, or?
If, like I said, if the Alan Parsons project had been a touring act, we could have been colossally big. A big name. The reason that we eventually did go on tour was without Eric. Eric would, even if Eric had wanted to, I don't think he was able to do so because he was mixed up in a legal battle. But we just finished an album called Try Anything Once, and we wanted to give it every possible chance of success. So we decided that playing live was a good thing to do to support that record. So that's what we did, and pretty much I've been doing it ever since.
And were there any kind of challenges in bringing back the Alan Parsons project? Some of the stuff you'd never played live from albums that were incredibly successful, introducing those into your live set. Was that a challenge, or was it really exciting thing to start arranging those?
It was not nearly as much of a challenge as it would have been had we decided to do it in the 80s or even into going into the 90s. I mean, keyboard technology just improved so dramatically. Sampling technology was with us, and there was an opportunity to get sounds pretty close to the records, which would have been almost impossible at the time they were originally recorded. And we played the hits. We played the Alan Parsons project hits as well as the solo album hits that I just mentioned. And people seemed to like it. I remember feeling very nervous when we did the first gig. It was in Hamburg in Germany.
Yeah. And
we played the first song, and the last chord happened, and then the audience applauded, and I went, "Oh wow, this is all right," and I've been reveling in that ever since.
Because although you were mostly known in the 70s for your work behind the desk and producer's chair, etc. But you also were you read music. You're used to the notation, which back then most musicians play by ear and didn't read music. Did that give you an advantage, being able to read
interesting
music? And
I mean, some of the greatest engineers and producers that have had considerable success did not read or write music. I mean, Jeff Emerick, as far as I know, didn't read music, but he did all those wonderful records with the Beatles. George Martin, of course, was. George was very much a real musician. But yes, I think it was a help. I mean, partly because the Alan Parsons project was so heavily orchestrated. I mean, Andrew Powell, helped sculpt the sound for us, and it was important that I was able to read the scores, and I would make suggestions, and he would write them down.
Did Eric read music? Well, because I know that in the book it mentions that Hilary's dad, I think his wife's dad, read music and would just sit in front of something and just play anything. And there's a part of the book saying that Eric couldn't do that, but he could play anything by feel and by ear, whatever came into his mind.
He was an incredible by ear pianist, actually. It's one particular instance I remember of his ability to play by ear. We did a Howard Stern interview together with Roger Daltrey.
Wow!
And Stern says, "Play us the bit in Won't Go Full Again when you do that scream," and Eric played it absolutely perfectly on a little synth that was sitting there in the studio. Probably never played it before, but he played the part, and Roger Daltrey did the scream, and it was great.
So when you were arranging your music for going out live as a live band, were you writing out the notation for the other musicians, or have you got people in the band a bit like Eric, where they went, "I know exactly what you mean"?
Just chord charts were usually all we ever needed, and sometimes even that wasn't needed. Eric would play the song, and we'd change the structures around a bit, and then during that process of restructuring, the band would learn the changes and the chords and everything. So sometimes there was nothing in front of them at all; they just played. Wow.
And obviously the studio was your kind of instrument through the whole of the 70s and 80s. And now that you're playing live, as the experience of playing live and organizing the live gigs, has this given you a different perspective to production, sound production and engineering at all?
I feel I've not really changed my production technique a whole lot since the early days. I've perhaps other producers or other leaders of bands might say, "Oh, we better not do this because we'll never be able to do this live." I've never taken that attitude. Just go with instincts and do whatever's necessary to make the recorded music sound great. So yeah, no restrictions.
Fantastic. And I noticed on the website you in 2016 you performed a concert with a 70-piece symphony orchestra. It must be a dream come true for the way the Alan Parsons Project music always sounded symphonic, for you to go out and do that.
If budgets would allow, I'd do it every time,
all the time.
But thankfully, you're probably talking about one of three possible live shows that we've put out to buy. There's one with the Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra in Tel Aviv. There was one in Holland, and there's the first one was live in Colombia, in Medellin, Colombia. But it's a joy to play with orchestra. It really is. It's harder work because you've got to rehearse them, and that's sometimes on the same day as the show, so it can make for a long day. Put it that way.
And with Pyramid coming out, are you adding anything from Pyramid to your live set at all?
Yeah, we've been playing Can't Take It With You and What Goes Up live. So I'm confident that we'll be playing those in the upcoming gigs. We've got some gigs coming up in a couple of weeks in the States.
There is it Denver, Colorado Springs, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Tucson, yeah.
Tucson, yes. It's I think you said you listed them all there. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's been a while, so looking forward to those shows.
And the other thing, because looking into your, before I became aware of you, obviously you come from almost like an acting background, and one of your was it Oliver Reed also is a connection, and plus this Family Guy where you were one of the characters. Did you ever think about going down a theatrical route rather than music, or was it always music for you?
I did consider it. In fact, I did take some acting lessons 4 or 5 years ago, because I thought it would have been a fun thing to do as a sideline. I've only done one movie. I played this bartender in a bar in California. Just 2 lines, literally. And I've done some voiceover narration for documentary film. I enjoy it very much. But I think you mentioned Family Guy. I think that's the ultimate accolade to be given a character inside.
I think it is. Yeah.
They didn't. They failed to notice that I'm 6'5" tall. I was a little midget, along with the main guy and Family Guy.
And you've also worked with Stephen Wilson, haven't you, on the Raven that refused to sing? And obviously Stephen's got a reputation for 5.1 surround sound mixes. He's worked with a lot of bands like Jethro Tull and Yes. Have you kind of...
I'm very jealous. It's getting a lot of the work that I wish I could get.
Well, I suppose you're still working through your own back catalogue. And mentioning I was just thinking about how the little bit of acting thing you just mentioned there, looking at the Alan Parsons project, but you didn't play live back in the 70s. But in a way, the music is very cinematic in the way it plays out, the way when you listen to the albums. I suppose with MTV just round the corner, if the budget had been there, some of the albums almost lent themselves into, even if you weren't playing live, doing like short video films around some of the music would have worked really well, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody coined the expression cinematic rock for describing what we did back in the day, and I think that was essentially fairly accurate.
I think so, yeah.
But it's funny that you should mention that. I wish more of the earlier material had been used in movies. We literally get one phone call a week to use for people to use Sirius.
Yes, yeah, the
intro to Eye in the Sky, and over here in the States, it's known as the Michael Jordan theme or the Chicago Bulls theme, because that's what it gets, I think, still to this day gets used for, despite the fact that Michael Jordan's no longer playing. But it's incredible that one piece has been used so very much for commercials and movies, and long may it continue.
Indeed, because that's the one that the Grammy nomination was for Eye in the Sky, wasn't it? As you said, but you'd been nominated. Was it over a dozen times before that? Yes,
I think I held the record for having the most nominations without winning. So it was very nice when I did eventually win.
Yeah. And beyond this tour, what have you got? What's your next project, Alan?
I don't have any specific plans to record anything new, but I think it's quite likely that I'll sit down and try and write something for another EP, LP, whatever. I don't want to give up recording just yet. Although
No, because you're still
just turned 75. I'm not getting any younger, but we'll see.
Well, you look very good on it.
No real plans. I mean, I think we'll probably be filling the calendar for the rest of this year and most of next year with live shows, hopefully in Europe as well as in the States.
Wow. And you still find time to do your masterclass training sessions?
Yeah. We just did one last 2 weekends ago, and that went very well. They seem to love being in the studio, watching me at work, and I let them into a new secret, which maybe you don't know about. I remixed Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon live from an Earl's Court concert in 1994.
Oh, wow.
And I remixed it in stereo, 5.1 and Dolby Atmos. So that will be coming out hopefully before the end of the year, but if not, early next year.
Just before, my last question is on sound, because you've just made me think I wanted to mention this. In this box set is the half-speed mastered vinyl album at 45 RPM. I thought the difference was huge.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Really huge. I'm a cynical person who buys records thinking, it's another way of making me buy something again. But I was, because the one on the original box set was mastered by the same guy. So I thought, what difference could it be? But it's huge difference. It sounds absolutely amazing. And then just when you think, what can be more amazing than that? You put on the Dolby Atmos version. So these two threads of half-speed mastered 45 RPM vinyl and Dolby Atmos seem to be like the go-to ways of experiencing music in a way that even for stuff you've heard many times to make you go, oh my God, is this the same album?
Yeah, the disadvantage of the 45 RPM is you have to keep getting up to turn the records over.
A lot sooner than normal.
Whereas you only had to do it once in the original vinyl date. And that was, that's something we lost when CD came along. You didn't get the tea break between sides.
Yeah. Yes,
I think that was an important part of the way records used to be.
I totally agree, because I think beyond the 40 minutes, your attention starts to drift, not because of our attention span shrinking. I think you can't concentrate. It's hard, when a CD is like 75 minutes long, it's too long. It's, but 20-minute chunks, I think it was why it was chosen to be that length for violin concerto, wasn't it? It was to fit that, to when albums were decided to be 12-inch, it was because of classical music, wasn't it? I think originally, and how long a concerto was. Yeah, but I totally agree. But do you feel that Dolby Atmos is, because it must make you look back at some of the stuff like Eye in the Sky and think, will there be a Dolby Atmos version of that at some point?
I'm just waiting for the check to arrive, and then I'll gladly do it.
Fantastic.
I'm hopeful that Dolby Atmos is very, very new. It's a new technology. It's young, so it has the way to go before it becomes a standard, I think. But no, if you're going to do it properly, you're talking about installing 11 speakers in your room. That's a lot.
Well, that's true, isn't it? I think most people have got 5 and the 5.1. Some people I know have got 7, but 11 is a lot.
Yes, it is. But supposedly it all folds down for headphones.
That's right. Yeah, but it still sounds fantastic.
I haven't had much experience hearing it on headphones yet, but
no,
I'm sure people will be listening to it on trains and buses as well as in the home. But that obviously means headphones.
Well, I think it's buy this, everybody. It's absolutely fantastic. And it sounds great on headphones. And you say, if you're going out, if you're on the train or you drive, it's going on in the car. It's the soundtrack to wherever you are. It just works. And especially, it just works. And the instrumental section, it's just a beautiful album. And I think this version has really, because I know it didn't have any hit singles on it. It didn't sell as well as what came before it or after it. But I think this version is going to give it a whole new set of fans. I think it's a beautiful album and presentation.
I hope you're right. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So everybody go to alanparsons.com, where you can find out what Alan's dates are. And also there's lots of videos and interviews and lots of stuff to explore on there. So thank you so much, Alan, for your time today. I really appreciate it. And take care. And hopefully I'll talk to you again one time in the future. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. So a huge thank you to my guest, Alan Parsons. The Alan Parsons Project. I've reviewed this. I've reviewed lots of Alan Parsons stuff. And there's a tendency for a lot of us to think that when we look back at these classic albums being reissued with lots of different things in them, that the whole focus is on that part of the musician or artist career. And the fact is that Alan Parsons has had a career that has just kept going and going and going. Just go to alanparsons.com and have a look. There's tour dates, there's videos, there's interviews, there's other albums that have come out more recently. Alan is incredibly active. The music he's creating now is exceptional, just as good and beyond good to what has gone before. And I think this is really, really important, that as delighted as I am that record labels put out older stuff with new twists on it, new 5.1 mixes, is that we focus on supporting the artist to what they're doing now. And Alan's latest stuff is incredible. His ability to work with some exceptional vocalists. Check out the one he's done with Jason Mraz. It's a great track. But I'm going to end on this particular podcast by saying, please visit the track that is called Shadow of a Lonely Man with John Miles. It's just beautiful. It really is. And I think on that note, I shall say, because it is, that music is the healer and the doctor. So keep spinning those discs. Please check out the website at nowspinning.co.uk, the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, and wherever you are on social media, so are Now Spinning. Thank you all so much. Keep spinning those discs, and I shall see you all very, very soon.